Iceberg Rescue by Sarah Amada. World of Ice. It was winter of 1933. Explorer Louise Arbor Boyd and her team had been at sea for 6 weeks. They were taking pictures and making maps of the wild and dangerous coast of northeast Greenland. Their ship, the Vesla moved slowly toward Nunatak Glacier. Louise stared up at the mountain of ice. She took many photos and wrote down details she saw. All her information would be useful for understanding this mysterious part of the world. Stuck. All at once, the ship shook. The shock threw Louise and the others to their knees. The front of the ship made a loud sound. The Veslakari had run aground. The captain yelled, "Reverse the engines!" The ship's crew ran the motors at full speed, but the Veslakari did not move. No way out. Now they were stuck, and it was the middle of winter. Louise knew that northeast Greenland was not a good place to spend the winter. Many explorers had died here, cold and hungry. Louise also knew that there were no other ships close by. She and her team had to save themselves. The tide was getting lower. As the water level around the boat sank farther and farther, Louise waited and watched. She knew that the ship might tip to one side in the mud. If it tipped over, the ship's crew would not be able to lift it. The Vesla was very, very heavy. Luckily, the ship stayed upright in the mud, but it was still stuck. Time for action. The Vesla was too heavy to float off the mud, even when the tide came back up and the water again surrounded the ship. Louise and the others had to make it lighter. They took 3 small boats off the ship. Then they took off almost 4 tons of oil and gas. Finally, they threw 15 tons of coal overboard. Louise's big idea. The tide came in and went again. The Veslakari was still stuck. Then Louise saw a big iceberg floating toward the ship. She had an idea. The ship's crew tied a cable around the iceberg. Then they pulled on the cable. The cable pulled on the iceberg. Free. The captain ordered his crew to start the ship's engine. What a noise! The motors roared. The crank squeaked as it pulled on the cable. The ship lifted off the mud. Thanks to Louise's good idea, the Veslakari was free. The water around them was filled with ice, and after 3 tries, they broke the ice and moved out to sea. Louise took more photos as they pulled away from the mountains of ice. She was relieved to be free, but she knew she would be back to explore this place again.